Hi class, this is Professor Harmony Kim. Last week, you've studied to whom the Buddha taught once the Buddha became fully awakened. The Buddha taught 5 old ascetics, and what the Buddha taught to the 5 old ascetics appear in Samyutta Nikaya. In other words, the Buddha's first sermon appears in the Samyutta Nikaya, one of which the sutra named Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Samyutta Nikaya is arranged in 5 divisions. The last division called Mahabhaga, the Great Book. In the Mahabhaga, there are several chapters. The chapter 12, called Sakkasamyutta, include several sections. The second section include Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. When we translate Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta in English, the first sermon named Putting in Motion the Wheel of the Teaching or Setting in Motion the Wheel of the Dhamma. So, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta is a record of the first sermon given by the Buddha. As you see in this figure, the Buddha fully awakened and provided sermon, the first sermon to the 5 ascetics. If we include the introductory story, 5 parts are discerned in a sequence in this sutra. The first part is 5 ascetics that abandoned the Buddha when Gautama Siddhartha broke his fasting. Second part is the middle way. The third part is the Noble Eightfold Path. The fourth part is the Four Noble Truths. The last part is the Buddha's full enlightenment. Let's look into Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta in detail. The first part in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta is 5 ascetics that abandoned the Gautama Siddhartha when he broke his fast. The Buddha arrives in the deer park close to Benares. From a distance, the 5 ascetics see Gautama Siddhartha arrive and decide that they will not rise up and greet him in respect because they remember that the Gautama Siddhartha had broken his fast. To 5 ascetics, this was a sign that Gautama Siddhartha had returned to worldly abundance. But as the Buddha comes closer, 5 ascetics cannot contain themselves. They rise and greet him with the words, "Be welcome, friend Gautama." At this, the Buddha says, "Do not speak to the Tathagata by name or as a friend." The Tathagata is an Arahant and completely enlightened. The Buddha says to 5 bhikkhus, "Listen, immortality is found. I proclaim, I teach the Dhamma." Furthermore, the Buddha explains to the 5 bhikkhus that breaking his fast was not a return to worldly abundance, and finally brings 5 bhikkhus to the point when they will listen to what the Buddha has to say. In Majjhima Nikaya 26, named Arya Pariyesana Sutta, it states that 2 or 3 of the 5 ascetics would at the time get food for all, in other words, alms round, and that the Buddha continuously taught those present. In other words, 5 ascetics start to listen to the Buddha's sermon, and when it was time for alms round, 2 or 3 ascetics left for alms round, and the rest ascetics continued to listen to Buddha's sermon. And 2 or 3 ascetics who left for alms round, once returned, they continuously listened to the Buddha's first sermon. Just before, the Buddha said that do not speak to the Tathagata by name or as a friend. What is the meaning of Tathagata? In Majjhima Nikaya 18, named Madhupindika Sutta, Pali commentator explains Tathagata as thus come and thus gone. Thus come, Tata Agata, and thus gone, Tata Gata. When you put A, long sound A, long sound A in front of Gata, G-A-T-A, that means opposite meaning of Gata. Agata is opposite to Gata. Therefore, Tata Agata means thus come, and Tathagata means thus gone. This means Tathagata means the one who comes into our midst bearing the message of deathlessness, to which he has gone by his own practice of the path. So deathlessness, immortality, the Buddha eventually found. In Majjhima Nikaya 12, named Mahasihanada Sutta, Tathagata possess the 10 strengths and the 4 kinds of supreme self-confidence. The second part of Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta is middle way. Middle way. The Buddha stated middle way as follows. Pigures, these 2 extremes should not be followed by one who has gone forth into homelessness. Homelessness means people who ordained. Homelessness means people pursue for spiritual liberation. What too? The pursuit of sensual happiness in sensual pleasures, and the pursuit of self-mortification. Without veering toward either of these extremes, the Tathagata has awakened to the middle way, which gives rise to vision, which gives rise to knowledge, which leads to peace, to direct knowledge, to enlightenment, to nibbana. The 2 extremes are described, which must be avoided by all who have abandoned their homes. One must not surrender oneself to the pleasures of the object of desire, nor, N-O-R, should one surrender oneself to the mortification of one's own body, which is painful and harmful. By avoiding these 2 extremes, the Tathagata discovered the middle way, which opens one's eyes, makes known, and leads to tranquility, to insight, to enlightenment, and to nirvana. What is the middle way? It is the Noble Eightfold Path. What is the Noble Eightfold Path? First, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Let's look at the first, right view, samadhi. Right view means the belief that not all comes to an end with death and that the Buddha proclaimed a path to salvation which the Buddha had successfully followed. Second path is right intention, samma sankappa. Right intention means leaving home and trying to follow this path, a noble path, as a religious mendicant. The third path is right speech, samma vacca. Not lying, not using rude language, not speaking the one behind, only speaking about things that are necessary and which can serve salvation. Right action, samma kammanta. Not killing or injuring, not taking what is not given, not performing sexual act. Right livelihood, samma ajiva, living from begging, but not accepting everything and not possessing more than is strictly necessary. Right effort, samma vayama, guarding against the possibility that sensual impressions or sensual thought should receive any attention. Right mindfulness, sammasati, being completely conscious of everything one does, not being absent-minded. The last path is right concentration, samma samadhi. The four stages of jhana meditation. Jhana means advanced mental state or absorption. The first jhana seems to provide a state of strong concentration. From the first jhana, the other stages come forth. The second stage is called samadhi, advanced conscious state which differently respond to the external stimuli. This advanced mental state is quite different from ordinary mental cognition. In the Noble Eightfold Path, right samadhi, right concentration is synonymous to jhana meditation. A further task was to intensify and transform the first stage of jhana meditation, which had been revealed by hinting of the middle way. The fourth part in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta is the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths is a theoretical frame in which the Noble Eightfold Path has been set. What is the Four Noble Truths? Life is suffering. There is the origin of suffering. There is the cessation of suffering. There is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. The Four Noble Truths resemble the kind of theoretical frame a medical doctor could use to explain his therapy. For example, the starting point is there is a kind of disease. The doctor looks for the cause of the disease. Then, doctor attempts to cure the disease by removing the cause. And in order to achieve this, one uses a particular therapy. The Buddha's Four Noble Truths are analogous to this. The way to cessation of suffering is explained by the Eightfold Path, and that this means to overcome suffering is mentioned at the last place, and not the result. There are three perspectives to interpret the Four Noble Truths. The first perspective is the knowledge of each truth. For example, this is the noble truth of suffering. This is the noble truth of the origin of suffering. This is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. This is the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. So one perspective is the knowledge of each truth. The second perspective is the knowledge of the task to be accomplished regarding each truth. For example, this noble truth of suffering is to be fully understood. This noble truth of the origin of suffering is to be fully understood, and so on. The third perspective of the Four Noble Truths is the knowledge of accomplishment regarding each truth. For instance, this noble truth of suffering has been fully understood. This noble truth of the origin of suffering has been fully understood. This noble truth of the cessation of suffering has been fully understood. This noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering has been fully understood. So there are 12 modes by applying three perspectives to the four truths. And the last part of Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta is the Buddha's full enlightenment. The Buddha stated that I did not proclaim to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world. But when my knowledge and vision of these Four Noble Truths as they really are in their three perspectives and 12 aspects was thoroughly purified in this way, then I claim to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world with its devas, Mara, and Brahma, in this generation with its ascetics, and Brahmin, its devas and humans. Unshakable is the liberation of my mind. This is my last birth. Now there is no more renewed existence. This means he proclaimed he is fully awakened. He eventually found deathlessness. He eventually found immortality in this world before his physical death. As you see in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the Buddha offered his teaching. His teaching such as Dhamma. Dhamma in Pali, Dharma, Dharma in Sanskrit. Dhamma is not as a set of doctrine demanding belief, but as a body of principles and practices that sustain human beings in their quest for happiness and spiritual liberation. We just saw the Eightfold Path and Four Noble Truths. underlying idea of the Eightfold Path and Four Noble Truths is meditation practice. At the heart of all classical system of Buddhist meditation is a particular discipline that has come to be known as mindfulness. Practicing Buddhist meditation eventually leads to mindfulness. Right mindfulness is one of factor of Eightfold Path. Right mindfulness connects the energetic application of the mind to its stilling, peaceful mind, peace, or tranquility and unification. What about meditative practice in other religions? Asceticism. Asceticism is found in non-dual goal of early Brahminic yoga. They thought that liberation was thought to be anticipated in a meditative trance that has passed beyond the possibility of cognition. This mental state in which the subject and object has been dissolved. So there is no discrepancy between subject and object. So subject and object fully dissolved. And they thought that the true liberation is only realized after death, not before death, when there is no longer any possibility of cognizing an object. So it's different from Buddhism. The Buddha proclaimed that immortality, deathlessness, can be found before death. So Buddhism is understanding the nature of the world and of the individual. And Buddhism provides intellectual theory of the path that leads to the cessation of suffering. Once a practitioner follows the Buddhist path as a gradual progression from being plagued by greed, hatred, and delusion into being the right view of noble ones, Arya, who have found the path. So ordinary people is contaminated with greed, hatred, and delusion. We call this three poison. So the mind is always unstable. So controlling mind is hard and always unstable due to greed, hatred, and delusion. But Buddhist path provide a gradual progression from these three poison into the right view of noble ones. How can overcome three poisons? By practice. Practicing meditation. What kind of a practice? How can three poisons be overcome? Need a fundamental practice of generosity and conduct to the cultivation of concentration and wisdom by means of meditative development. Also, faith and conduct in the preparation for the meditative practice is helpful for successful meditation, because faith provides brace mind to overcome danger, risk, and three poisons. There are certain conditions for the successful Buddhist meditation, such as keeping precepts, so not killing the living things, or not telling lies, not performing sexual misconduct, not take which is not given to you, not drink intoxication. Also free the mind from guilt, a strong protective quality, warding off danger, settling and composing the mind in preparation for the higher stage of Buddhist meditative practice. The term meditation in Buddhist technical terminology, let's think about that. Let's think about the term meditation in Buddhist technical terminology. The other two words which can be candidate for meditation are bhavana and yoga. Bhavana means bringing into being. It refers to mental or spiritual exercise aimed at cultivating wholesome mental state that conduce to the realization of the Buddhist path. Yoga means effort or work. It refers to specifically spiritual work or technique. In general, Buddhist tradition comes to consider meditation by way of two different but complementary aspects. Two meditative methods seems to different, but actually they are complementary each other. One is calm meditation, samatha meditation. The other is vipassana meditation, insight meditation. Samatha and vipassana, which is geared to the cultivation of a deep state of concentration, samadhi, and wisdom, panya, respectively. Let's look at the samatha meditation first. Samatha meditation is still the mind. Bring the mind to a condition of stillness in which it finds complete containment with just one object of contemplation. Mind enters into quite different state of consciousness from its ordinary state. This state of consciousness may be termed samadhi or alternatively known as the jhana, which means something like deep thought or meditation. In Buddhist technical terms, the mind has temporarily escaped from the sphere of the senses to the subtle sphere of pure form. In ordinary life, we are distracted from our senses. However, this meditative practice transforms this ordinary sense into a subtle sphere of pure form. The experience of this refined world of pure form comprises four increasingly subtle jhana corresponding to the 16 Brahma realms of the Buddhist cosmos. So depending on practitioner's mental attainment, each sentient being has belonged to a certain realm, which is one of 16 Brahma in Buddhist cosmos. Samatha meditation commit to concentrate certain object. How to decide a sureable object? The surability for the practice of the preliminary or advanced stage of calm meditation, and also the surability for different personality types. So if you have a spiritual master, the master will give you certain object and you work with, study with that object to make your mind peace and stillness. Once you engage in samatha meditation, the practitioner can reach access concentration, which is a level of concentration considered to be on the brink of full jhana. I mentioned that the practitioner work with certain object. The object could be Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, good conduct, generosity, God, mindfulness of death, are sweet to the preliminary practice calm known as access concentration. 10 kasina and mindfulness of breathing are suitable for both the preliminary and more advanced stage. So, samatha meditation eventually leads the practitioner to arrive at preliminary practice. The final stage of preliminary practice is access concentration. And from there, further practice, then the practitioner enters the more advanced stage. Until that time, the practitioner can work with suitable object of concentration, such as Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, mindfulness of death, or 10 kasina. I will try to provide what 10 kasinas in the following week in this course. But 10 kasina means earth, wind, water, 10 kinds of object, 10 kinds of object, and mindfulness of breathing. These are the suitable object for preliminary and more advanced stage of jhana meditation, samatha meditation. Depending on personality, depending on character, someone with a strong tendency toward the sensual desire should balance this by cultivating the 10 meditation on ugliness on the body in 10 different degrees of putrefaction. For example, process of decay or rotting in a body, or pus or filthiness of the body. Those can be good, suitable object for meditation practice, especially to the person who with strong tendency toward the sensual desire. Someone with a tendency to intellectualize and get lost in speculation, then mindfulness of breathing is recommended as cutting off discursive thinking. If someone is too much involved in analyze and intellectualize, those people can concentrate on mindfulness of breathing in and breathing out. This practice will cut off discursive thinking. Therefore, this person can reach to tranquility. Someone who tends toward a state of anger and hatred, then take one of the four colored discs, such as white, blue, red, such as those kinds of four colored discs as a meditation subject. So depending on different personality, there are different suitable types of objective meditation objects. In the course of a practice meditation, the practitioner feels hindrance. In other words, the attention must be repeatedly brought back to the object of meditation. So once you receive the object of meditation from your spiritual master, then you continue to practice repeatedly, then you might feel that the practice might not go smooth. There are two reasons for the failure in successful meditation. One reason is the five hindrances. The second reason is five limbs of jhana are not sufficiently strong. What are the five hindrances? First, sensual desire, ill will, laziness, excitement and depression, and doubt. These are the five factors to hinder the successful meditation. For example, if you doubt too much about your meditative object, then your meditation cannot successful. The other reason for the failure in successful meditation is five limbs of jhana are not sufficiently strong. What are the five limbs of jhana? Five limbs of the jhana consist of, first, vitakka, application of a thought. For example, where to put each individual finger to music. In other words, where you need to put your objective meditation object. Second limb of jhana is vichara, examining. For instance, paying attention to the subtler aspect. When you engage in meditation object, you pay attention to subtler aspect of that meditation object. The third limb of jhana is joy. In other words, when you engage in meditation practice, you feel certain joy. You feel joyful feeling. This joy is less distracted and more absorbed in whatever it is doing. Once you further engage in meditation practice, you feel happiness. This happiness is less distracted and more absorbed in whatever it is doing. So this happiness, this joy and happiness is different from sensual lust, L-U-S-T. And eventually, you attain one-pointedness, concentration or collectedness itself. Mind becomes unified, just full of mind, resting on one object of consciousness, one object of meditation. Once you overcome five hindrances and coming into the balance of five limbs of jhana, this is equivalent to the mind becoming settled in access concentration. I mentioned just before, there is certain kind of a happy feeling. There are five stages of joy along the meditation practice. The first stage is slight joy. It's just slight joy. You feel like raising the hairs of the body. And further, you feel momentary joy. This momentary joy, repeated flash of lighting. Descending joy, feel like stronger and washes over the body again and again and then subside. You might feel transporting joy, which can power to lift the body into the air. You feel like flying in the air. Suffusing joy can pervade the whole body, touching every part. The kind of joy and signs are indicative of the variety of visual and physical phenomena that may accompany meditation. As I said before, these kinds of five stages of joy is quite different from sensual lust, L-U-S-T. The more detailed description of the Buddhist meditation is written in the sutra named Satipatthana Sutta. Satipatthana Sutta can be found both in the Digha Nikaya and Majjhima Nikaya. In Digha Nikaya, it is called Mahasatipatthana Sutta. In Majjhima Nikaya, just Satipatthana Sutta. The term Satipatthana is composed of Sati and Patthana. Sati means mindfulness or presence of mind. Patthana means setting up, establishing. So the compound Satipatthana implies the full establishment of mindfulness or a process of setting up mindfulness. The meaning of the term Satipatthana refers to the fourfold practice of watching the body, kaya, vedana, feeling, chitta, mind, and dharma, mental quality or mental object. To establish mindfulness is to adopt a particular stance toward one's present experience. To establish mindfulness is not said about remembering something that occurred in the past, but adopt a particular stance toward one's present experience. This sutra is characterized as a stance of observation or watchfulness toward one's own experience. The stance of sati serves to illuminate the event occurring in physical body kaya, sensory vedana feeling, and psychological chitta and dhamma domains, and lift these events out from the zone of unawareness into the light of clear cognition. In this context, sati can be characterized the form of lucid awareness of the present. The practice of watching feelings and minds are dealt with in just one section. In the last section, in Satipatthana Sutta, watching quality, Dhamma, is dealt with in 5 sections. The monk watches with regard to the 5 hindrances, the 5 aggregate, the 6 internal and external spheres of sense, the 7 constituents of awakening, and the 4 noble truths. Satipatthana Sutta closes with an extended statement indicating that if anyone should practice these 4 ways of establishing mindfulness, awakening or something very close to awakening must be the result. Satipatthana Sutta is often read today as describing a pure form of insight, vipassana meditation, that bypasses calm samatha meditation and the 4 jhana absorption as outlined in the description of the Buddhist path found. However, the earlier tradition seems to associate accomplishment in the exercise of establishing mindfulness with abandoning of the 5 hindrances and the first absorption. A simple bifurcation between samatha and vipassana is probably inappropriate in the context of the Nikaya material. So they are complementary each other. So it's not really divided into this is samatha meditation and this is only vipassana meditation, But in terms of advanced mental state, sometimes it's not very appropriate to clearly divide samatha and vipassana, simply because they associate accomplishment in the exercise of establishing mindfulness. I strongly encourage students to read either Mahasatipatthana Sutta in Digha Nikaya or Satipatthana Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. Satipatthana Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya is shorter than Mahasatipatthana Sutta in Digha Nikaya, but the content is exactly same. So please, if you type Satipatthana Sutta in internet, then you can easily access electronic version of Satipatthana Sutra. So you can read, and it's very important kinds of a foundation of a Buddhist meditation. Quiz 1. What is the meaning of sati? What is the meaning of sati? Satipatthana. The term satipatthana is compound with sati and patthana. Patthana is establishing. Sati, what? Mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, or attention? You know the answer. Which of the following is not one of the 5 hindrances? Practitioners want to avoid the 5 hindrances for successful Buddhist meditation. What are those 5 factors to hinder the successful practice? Doubt, laziness, excitement, and depression. You can find the answer from the previous slide. Which of the following is not the object to establish mindfulness in Satipatthana Sutta? There is object to establish mindfulness by concentrating body, kaya, vedana, chitta, dharma. So you can find the answer of this question. So submit the answer of this quiz to this email, to my email address. The next Monday is official holiday, so there will be no lecture video next Monday, which is January 18th. And the following Monday, January 25th, you will have another lecture video. So the due of this quiz will be January 24th, Sunday midnight, because January 18th, there is no lecture due to the Martin Luther King holiday. This is the end of the lecture. Thank you.